friends, welcome back to our channel if you've seen our videos before, and if you're new, my name is Abby, and today I am going to be sharing a book haul with you. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Not that I've stopped buying books, just that I've stopped doing hauls. But if you saw, I think it'll probably go up before this one. Hope and I went on a bit of a thrifting adventure. We went down to Sarasota, Florida to do some thrifting for her resale business. And I came along mainly to look for books. Honestly, I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. I didn't know what I was gonna find, but I actually managed to find quite a few things. 13 books and a few other things that I purchased for like $15. We love a good deal, especially when it means that we get to add new books to our collection. I'm gonna share these books with you today, and I'm so excited to do so, so let's get started. So I ended up finding things at two different thrift stores, and both of them, when I walked in, I wasn't sure if I was gonna find any books. One of them had like a table out front, the other one had a sign on the wall that was like books this way, and I expected like maybe a shelf, maybe two, maybe the one table display, and both of these places had full rooms of books at the back of the store. Like there was a book room. I walked in and I was like, this is my space, this is where I belong. I was instantly so much more comfortable than I had been in the clothing section of the store. One of them had a sale going that was 4 books for $1. Their normal prices were 50 cents for a book, so it was just like half of that again, which is great. So I did end up picking up 8 things there, and then the second store was a little bit pricier. Paperbacks were $1, hardbacks were $2. So I did end up finding some things at both of those places. We're gonna start with books from authors I have read from before. They're not as many. I did a lot of just, this sounds kind of good, it's 25 cents, how bad can it be, and picked it up and brought it home, so. But this is not one of those. One of the first things I saw, and I was like, I will buy this if I can find other things, because it was kind of a, like it was sort of sorted in the book room, but also like it was a bit chaotic, so I kind of just went over everything like 3 times because I knew I was missing stuff, and I was right, because then I ended up buying 8 things. But this was one of the first that I spotted, and I was like, if I can find other stuff, I will purchase this too, and I did, so I got it. This is Crispin, The Cross of Lead by Avi. This was one of my favorite trilogies in middle school. I was obsessed with like medieval fantasy, and this isn't fantasy, it's just historical fiction set in medieval times, but I was obsessed with Avi when I was a preteen into my early teens. And this is one of those books. This is the first book in the trilogy, and it did win the Newbery Medal in 2002, and it follows a boy called Crispin in medieval England, and his mother passes away. It's been a really long time since I've read this, but if I'm remembering correctly, his mother passes away. He doesn't even have a name, I don't think, at the beginning of the book, and along the way he meets like this group of other people. Like they start collecting, you know, found family, and by the time the trilogy is over, it's a whole group of people. So yeah. Oh yes, he's accused of a crime he didn't commit, and so that's why he runs away. Okay, it's coming back. I would love to read this again at some point. I don't know if it'll still hold up, but I knew that I loved it so much that I'm very happy to have it in my collection of books that I loved when I was in middle school. Next up, ironically, another medieval setting, although this one is fantasy, and this one is by an author who honestly stands a really good chance of being like my most read author of the year this year, and that's Jonathan Stroud. If you've been here for any length of time, you probably have heard me talk about him. Lockwood & Co., The Outlaws Scarlet and Brown, both 2 of my favorite series, and Outlaws isn't even done yet. I'm so excited for book 3. Don't talk to me, I'm still in mourning about the show getting canceled for Lockwood & Co., but it's okay, I'm gonna get over it. And also, I found this book, so I'm excited about this. This is one of his earlier works. This came out in 1999, and this is called Buried Fire, and there's a dragon on the cover and a castle, and I was immediately like, okay, yeah, I'm in. So this looks like it's about a boy called Michael who inherits magical abilities from a dragon. I don't really know much about it, but the plot sounds interesting, and it's Jonathan Stroud, so I have high hopes that I'm gonna like it, if not love it. So hopefully I will be reading this very soon. I'm kind of in my Jonathan Stroud era at the moment. I've reread Lockwood & Co. this year, I've reread Outlaws Scarlet and Brown. I want to get to this, and hopefully the Bartimaeus trilogy this year as well. Quartet, 4 books? I think it was a trilogy, and then he wrote a 4th book, because now there's 4 books floating around for Bartimaeus. But anyway, not important. I'm excited to own this. I was excited to see this because I hadn't actually seen it in person. I had only heard tell of the fantasy works of Jonathan Stroud, so I'm excited to pick this one up. And the last one of an author that I have read from before, this is Midnight on the River Grey by Abigail Wilson. I read an Abigail Wilson, I want to say end of last year. What was that called? It was like a mystery. I'll put the cover right here. It was a mystery. It was fun. It was like a romance, and it was a romance and a mystery at the same time. And it was fun. I listened to the audiobook. I really liked it. And this is another one of her books. This one I think is like a gothic. I think it's also a mystery, probably with a bit of a romance because it's Christian historical fiction. So like it's Thomas Nelson, you know there's gonna be a little bit of a romance, you know what I'm saying? So this one sounds like it's a bit of a gothic mystery. The tagline says, "She knew the house was keeping secrets, if only the darkness could speak." So looks like her brother dies and she thinks she knows who's responsible, so she goes to try and prove his guilt, and maybe he's not the one who's guilty, or maybe he is. I don't know. I'm excited to find out. So yeah, I thought this one's cool, and I love the cover. It's really pretty. I love the blue. It's very mysterious. Oh, you know what? I should put this one in this stack as well of authors I've read from before. It wasn't in my stack of authors I've read from before when I bought it a couple weeks ago now when we went on this trip, but since then I have read a book by Tolkien. I'm very proud of myself, but I found a copy of The Two Towers, which was the last of the Lord of the Rings books that I needed in order to like own the whole trilogy separately. It's a long story, but I have a giant bind up that's over 1,000 pages. That's the whole trilogy, but it's not comfortable to read from, so I've been putting the series off. It's very intimidating and it's not comfortable to read from, so I've been putting it off for absolutely ages. You guys know I'm a Narnia girly through and through, so I knew Middle-earth was probably going to be somewhere I wanted to explore in my lifetime, but just like I didn't have good copies and I didn't really want to use a library copy, and it was the whole thing in my brain. So Two Towers was the one I was missing in order to like own the whole trilogy, and now I have it. And since buying it, I don't know, when I bought this, just something in my brain clicked and it was like, we need to start this right now, because I am a full mood reader, and so I have to go with my mood, and my mood said read Fellowship of the Ring, and then I read it in like 4 days. So I think I was correct in that it was time, and it was time for this one too. You can kind of see I've already started. I'm about that far in, not super far, but I'm enjoying it very much. I'm having a great time. So yeah, so this is The Two Towers by JRR Tolkien. This is a mass market paperback that I have to assume came in a boxed set, because what's fun about this one, it was kind of throwing me off because the page count of this book is, the last page is numbered 971, and I was like, there is no way. There's no way this is 900 pages. Absolutely not possible. Also, how am I going to make it through it if it's 900 pages? And then when I started to read it, I realized page 1 is numbered 537. So this book literally picks up page number and everything directly from where the Fellowship of the Ring left off. I have to assume in the boxed set they were numbered like that, which I think is so weird, but also so cool, because I know that like Tolkien wanted the book to be just one giant book, and his publishers were like, we can't really do that, you have to break it up. So I think that's kind of fun, and I think it's kind of cool, and it makes me feel a whole lot better about the fact that I thought this was going to be 900 pages. I was like, how is that even legal, Mr. Tolkien? Because it's not. It's like 400. Way more manageable. It's okay. So yeah, I'm enjoying my first trip into Middle-earth. I'm having a very good time. If you've read Lord of the Rings, let me know in a comment. I'm just curious, which one's your favorite? I haven't formed an opinion yet. I've only finished the first one, but I liked it a lot. So we shall see how I feel about Two Towers. Next up, I think we'll go for this one. These are ones that I had previously heard good things either about the author or the book itself. So I decided to pick it up when I saw it. I got very excited for this first one because one of my friends has been absolutely raving about this book over the past like year or so since she read it, and so I saw it and I was like, that's coming home with me. And it's called Gentle and Lowly by Dane Orton. The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers. So this is like a devotional, you know, faith-related book. I love the sheep on the cover. They look so cute. I don't know, but I heard it was great and it sounds really good, and I love just the aesthetic of the whole thing. It's so like springtimey and lovely, and it's a nice floppy paperback, and those are It's just, I don't know. It sounds good, so I bought it. Yay. Next up, I did not realize how thick this book was. I feel like someone lied to me because I've only heard that this is adorable and sweet and fluffy romance. Who gave it the right to be, how many pages are you? 390 pages. Becky Wade, what? I mean, the margins are really large, so like maybe that's why, but I don't know. This is Stay With Me by Becky Wade, a Misty River romance. I think this is the first one in the series. It seems like very Hallmark-esque. A girl goes back to her hometown because she received an anonymous letter referencing her parents' past, and then she has to stay with someone she was an item with, perhaps, and then they maybe fall back in love. I don't really know, but it sounds good, and I've heard great things about it, and it seems like a cute, fluffy, summertime-y romance, so we'll see. Next up is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne. Historical fiction and I have been having a moment this year. I don't know what it is, but like I'm eating them up. I'm having such a good time. From what I know, this is a World War II story about a British spy who's being interrogated by the Nazis, and this is kind of like the journal of what happened to her, like her life story. I don't know a ton other than that. I've heard good things about it. I like the cover. I've also heard it will probably make me cry. So, like any good historical fiction should, really. Any good World War II fiction always gets me right in the heart. And finally, for books I have heard of, I was so excited to spot this because I've been wanting to read a Joe Wright, and I did actually pick one up at the latest library sale. I don't think I did a book haul for it, but maybe I did. But I think I got Curse of Misty Wayfair, but this is The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond. It sounds super spooky and interesting. It's like another like gothic mystery kind of sound to it. It's a dual timeline, so there's like one timeline in the present day, I don't know what year, 2018, and then one in 1907, small town in Wisconsin. I think there's some sort of mystery that then both of these women are trying to solve. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but like, I think the modern storyline finds maybe all of the clues and stuff that the historic storyline had put together, and so they're kind of working together to solve the crime, even though they're like 100 years apart or whatever. It sounds really good and really interesting, and I'll probably save this one for like Halloween time. It's giving fall, October spooky vibes, so I'm excited to check this one out. This is the last stack of books. These are ones that I hadn't really heard of or seen before, but they sounded pretty good and they were really cheap, so I bought them. So here we go. These first two are by Deanna Rayborn, which I think is really interesting because I know her from the Veronica Speedwell series, which I haven't read, but I've heard really great things about and I kind of want to check out at some point. But I think this was her debut series. Says a perfectly executed debut on the back, so yeah, this was her debut novel, which is exciting, and they had both books 1 and 2, so I decided to go ahead and pick them both up. They sound kind of interesting, and we'll see how it goes. So that's Silent in the Grave and Silent in the Sanctuary, Lady Julia Gray mysteries. Excuse me, I almost said Jane. That's not the same person. So Lady Julia Gray mystery, and I wasn't sure. This is the first one that I saw, and the cover just kind of called to me, and it's like a super floppy, beautiful paperback. Look at that flop. That's so good. So then when I saw they had book 1, when I realized this wasn't book 1 and that they had book 1, I was like, okay, well, I need to check out book 1. And then the first sentence really caught my attention, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I wanna read this. Here's how it starts. To say that I met Nicholas Brisbane over my husband's dead body is not entirely accurate. Edward, it should be noted, was still twitching upon the floor. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of fun. So it looks like her husband receives a death threat, and then when he does actually die, it looks like they maybe suspect that maybe she had something to do with it, but she decides that she's going to solve the case herself, I think. She's going to bring the murderer to justice herself, and then clearly goes on to end up in more sticky situations, as most cozy mystery female leads do. So I'm excited to check this out. I hope it's good. If you've read this, let me know what you thought, or if you've read Deanna Rayborn at all, because I know she's pretty popular right now. So kind of excited to see what she was writing like in 2007. So let's see. Next up, another one that seems perfect for spooky season, so hopefully I'll pick this up in October. The Charmed Children of Rookskill Castle by Janet Fox. I don't know, this cover just like called to me and I was like, I want to know what that's about. And it sounds like it's a good old-fashioned children solving a spooky mystery, which is one of my favorite subgenres of mystery, honestly. So we'll see. It's set in Scotland, and it's historical fiction. So these kids go to this castle during the London Blitz. I think they like have like a situation where they can bring kids in to be safe, get them out of the city, whatever. And then they find there's like some sort of mysterious stuff going on. Kat, who's the main character, thinks Lady Eleanor, who rules the castle, might be harboring a Nazi spy. But when her classmates begin to vanish one by one, Kat must face the truth about what the castle actually harbors and what Lady Eleanor is before it's too late. So I don't know what it's about, but it's got this creepy illustration of like a chatelaine in the front. So it sounds very spooky and a fun time. I love this. Like, it's just beautiful. I'm excited to check this out and I hope that I will love it. Next up, I picked this up for one reason and one reason alone, and that's that there's a giraffe on the cover. Which is a very silly reason perhaps to pick up a book, but like, hello? I'm actually sort of slowly amassing a very small collection of books with giraffes on the cover, so if you know of any, please let me know down in the comments, because I don't know. I feel like I have to own these, because I've collected giraffes my entire life. They're my favorite animal, always have been, and so books with giraffes on the cover feels even more like my niche that I need to own, so I picked this one up. This is called The White Giraffe by Lauren St. John, and it's a middle grade story, pretty short. I think it's about grief, and I think it's like the first in a series with this character who lives in Africa and her parents pass away, and then I don't know, she sees this white giraffe who's supposedly a legend, and I don't really know what goes on from there, but it had a giraffe. Look how pretty that giraffe looks. Beautiful. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's like about grief and family and other middle grade things. Friendship, probably. I don't know. And the last book that I got, I was nervous to pick this up because it technically is like Agatha Christie, oh, what's the word? Pastiche novel? Is that the right term? Where like new authors take on classic characters. So this is The Monogram Murders by Sophie Hannah. It's a Poirot mystery. And I wasn't initially going to pick this up because I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about like new authors taking on classic characters, specifically Christie characters, because I love Poirot in Christie's interpretation of him, the original interpretation of him. I don't know why I said interpretation, that's not the right word. I love the original Poirot so much that I'm nervous to see how somebody else would do it, but the plot of this one sounded really interesting, so I'm gonna try it and just see what happens. Sounds like in a pretty classic setup. Poirot, somebody comes up to him at dinner and is like, I need your help. He says no, that person dies, and so then he gets involved. He does that quite a few times actually, but yeah, so I don't know. I like the cover too. I love the colors. It's so bright and like pops. So I don't know how it's gonna be, but the reviews aren't actually that bad, so I'm hoping that I'll still enjoy this, even though it's not technically Agatha. We shall see. So that's it for the books. I'm gonna share some DVDs with you because I did get a few, and I don't usually, but I saw these and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bring them home with me. So here we are. First up, I spotted this and knew it had to come home with me. It's Pride and Prejudice, Keira Knightley, Matthew McFadyen. My last book haul that I did, I'm pretty sure it was the last one I did, I hauled Pride and Prejudice and said I hadn't read it yet. I have read it since that book haul. I absolutely loved it. It stands a pretty good chance, honestly, of being, if not my #1 book of the year, definitely top 3. It was so good. I loved it so much. So then I went out and I watched all the adaptations again, even though I had seen them before, but I went and watched them again and I love them even more. So I borrowed this one from my library when I read the book, and then I wanted to watch the movie. I borrowed it from the library, but now I own it, so hooray! This is just a beautiful film. I feel like if you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been, and it's perfect. It's it's great. But also, I do want to know in the comments, what's your favorite version of Pride and Prejudice? I would love to know. Honestly, I love them all. I don't really have a preference, but this one is just a gorgeous film. And I'm excited to have it in my collection now. Yay, I can watch it whenever I want, because it's not streaming anywhere, so now I can just watch it whenever I want. Another one, I've only seen this one the one time. I think I also rented it from the library, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'm bringing home The Outsiders, because this is one of my favorite books of all time. So I've seen the movie once, and I've been wanting to watch it again, just because I feel like the first time, I feel like you need a couple times with any movie that you love to really like pick out what it is you like of it, how you feel about it, specifically book to movie adaptations. But it's a great film, so I'm excited to have it. It's very like plain, bare bones DVD, but I'm not mad about that. It's just gonna be the movie, and that's really all I need. Speaking of something that's not just the movie, and that's the reason I picked it up, The Mummy. I saw this shining on the shelf. It's like such a shiny gold, and I was like, what is that? I need to know. This is the ultimate edition of The Mummy. Starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. I saw this for the first time, I think earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it. It has 3 discs, tons of special features. It was $1. Like, I'm not mad that I own it now, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna come home with me. Another great one for like Halloween spooky time. And finally, honestly, this was the thing I maybe was most excited to find the entire day. Like, if you know, you know. You know this had to come home with me, right? Like, it's season 1 of Murder, She Wrote on DVD. I'm so excited. The case is broken. There's a disc missing, actually. I don't have disc 4? Disc 6? Excuse me, I don't have disc 6. But again, it was $1, and when am I ever gonna see this again? You know what I mean? It just, having it makes me feel good, even though I'm missing the last one. But I don't care. This is season 1 of one of my favorite shows of all time, Murder, She Wrote. If you've been here since last year I hosted a readathon based on this with my friends Nina and Heather. I would have loved to have done it again. Life this year was too crazy for me to think about trying to host it again, but maybe next year. We'll see. Maybe it'll make a return at some point. But I absolutely loved this show. I loved doing the readathon. This just makes me so happy. So that is everything for this book / mini DVD haul. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if any of them look or sound interesting to you, which one I should start with. I would love to know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below for more Disney and bookish magic, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Happy reading!